Hey, can jocks be geeks? Find out next on Geek Out SA. And welcome back to Geek Out SA. It's Friday and we're having fun.
Sorry, I was totally thumping to the bass of the song.
We're checking it out. But yeah,
Focus now.
we're still dealing with the camera stuff, so
It's all your fault.
I didn't do anything to it. They were working and then they stopped working.
Yeah. And you bought a new computer
Mm-hmm.
so that we wouldn't have any of these issues, and we still have issues.
But something changed because it was working fine when we had the new computer. So
I blame the new OBS. But then you got rid of the new OBS and went back to the old OBS, right?
Oh, Streamlabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did Streamlabs. We thought that was an issue with Streamlabs, but we came back to regular OBS. No, still not an issue. And then I reformatted I reinstalled Windows.
So you did a bunch of like computer nerd stuff, and it didn't work.
No.
Yeah.
But
But we're here anyway. So
we're here anyway.
And we're just gonna look like this the whole time.
So we're talking about Jocks Be Geeks, and
Stuart keeps saying no. He's like, no.
Over
end of discussion. No.
He said this is gonna be a real short one. But things have changed, and I think people.
Well, I don't know that things have changed, so let's not go that far, because here we are with football season starting, and I have like my 49ers gear on because I'm like a football like aficionado. I'm a super fan, and our friends that are geeks are like, oh, it's time for the sports ball and and they've always got something to say because they're our age, they're in their 40s, and they've been burned when they were kids by jocks to the jock. Oh, you got to play your sports ball.
I a jock thing you. You're a jock.
I'm not a jock. Like, I have really tried to play sports, but ask Vincent. I have played flag football, like co-ed, and knocked myself unconscious. I played football as a teacher with my students and jumped up to like receive a pass in the end zone and fell onto my back and like bruised up my back and everything. I was playing basketball with students and tore my ACL all the way through. So no, I'm accident prone. I am coordinated. I love sports, but I'm not like athletically inclined.
I think I played for like a week. I think I only did one game.
But you like basketball. You like to watch basketball.
I like to watch basketball. Yes, I do.
And a lot of the gaming industry love to watch baseball.
Yeah.
Like baseball. A lot of the times we'll go to a con, and that's one of the things we all do is go out to a baseball game together. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're so divergent. Can't be. But there still seems to be this, like, oh, you're a jock, you're a geek, like, in people, I think, in our age bracket.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, because back then, the jocks used to pick on back in the era, but I don't know if it's such a thing now.
I mean, kind of, sort of, but not as much. Mm-hmm. So, like, one of the jocks that we know is a geek is Vin Diesel, right? Yeah. I mean, he's a big old buff dude, like working out all the time and stuff, and being in all these movies. And he's admitted in interviews. However, like pictures of him playing Dungeons and Dragons or any proof.
So I queue up the Vin Diesel advertising Street Shark video.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's good. Because that is awesome.
So I think I've seen a video of it.
Of him playing
Of
D&D.
him playing D&D.
Okay.
It was a short video, but he really enjoys it. And he's enjoyed it for years and years.
I mean, I've heard talk that he does, but I don't know that I've met him like playing or anything.
And then I don't know. I kind of think, well, who does he play with, like on his like downtime, like when?
Well, and I feel like D&D has become a little more mainstream
Mm-hmm.
because, especially because of Stranger Things.
Well, I think even before that, we saw it on.
Weren't they playing it in ET?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But like recently, they talk about it on what is that one that they don't show anymore?
Community.
They did it on Community. They also did it on the one with Sheldon.
The Big Bang Theory.
The Big Bang Theory. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they talk about it on there as well. But it has become mainstream where they're talking about it on like cartoons and stuff.
Yeah, but the thing is, do we really see jocks participating in types of geeky things?
It's interesting because the back in the day when we created, back in the day before we created the organization, we had IMF. And we had tons of people play IMF that ordinarily had no idea or knew what role playing was.
Right.
And Jocks and the Gambit, and they used to play really well. And I think a lot of jocks out there are interested in this stuff, but they get. I know one of our son's friends in college was really liked playing tabletop games, and he was in college for football, and they were giving him hassle about wanting to go
to the con and
stuff like that.
But I think that comes down to playing tabletop games, at least specifically, comes to having really good reading comprehension, and comes with having like a really good imagination. And so you have to play that character, and you have to not be afraid to be silly or stupid or make a mistake. And I think sometimes in that jock mentality of you've got to be a winner, you've got to be a winner, you've got to be a winner, it's hard for them to put themselves out there in a tabletop game situation.
Right.
Like, I know that Tim Duncan is another athlete, and if you know anything about San Antonio, we're from San Antonio. Tim Duncan is a player that meant a lot to the San Antonio Spurs, our basketball team. Now, he has admitted to playing Dungeons and Dragons as well, but he also dresses up. There are photos of him like dressing up in cosplay, and he's gotten other Spurs players to dress up, and they've done like groups.
Doesn't he have like a tattoo of a wizard or something like that?
Yeah, and he did the whole Punisher car and everything here in San Antonio and got that going. So he's really into comics and stuff. So I don't think that this needs to be a separation anymore. Yeah, it used to be like, and Stuart was saying this earlier, like the jocks are the ones that give the geeks the wedgies, you know? It's like, or they're going to come and, you know, flush your head in the toilet and give you a swirly, but not necessarily, not anymore. And I think one of the
that's
things,
what we think of it as back in the 80s and 90s.
That's where we come from. But I think that one of the things that bridge the gap is video games. Like, if you think about it, video games used to be a very, very geek thing, right? You would go to the arcade, you'd spend your money, you put your quarters up there to, like, reserve your video game, and it was, like, Pac-Man and, you know, asteroids and, like, space stuff and everything. And then Madden starts coming out with these football games.
Right.
And then the NBA is coming out with NBA games.
Right.
And then FIFA's coming out now with soccer games.
Well, and back in the day, they had, like, baseball games.
Yeah.
And like, I remember I used to have one of those little handheld LED football.
Yeah, I did too, actually. Yeah, I did have one of those.
I used to love to play that all the time.
Yeah, I loved that. So
Black and Silver Diamond says we're not in the 50s anymore. I think some people do experience a little bit, but there's geeks are out there more, so you're able to like friend them more.
Well, I can admit, like as a middle school teacher, so I have a gaming club after school once a week, and sometimes the jocks have to go. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm so tired. I'm a school teacher, and it's been a long week. The jocks have to go to like homework help and tutoring. There's like every so often that the coaches make them go do that to make sure that they're up on their grades. Well, some of my students don't have to go. So they want to come to my room and hang out while everybody else is doing their tutoring and homework help and stuff. So they would come in sometimes and it would be the gaming club and they would be like, what are they doing? And then I would tell them, oh, they're playing Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. And they would kind of like make a face, but then they would gravitate over and they wanted to hear what they were doing. And one of the games that they loved, like the Jocks boys loved the most, is one of my kids. He's really into magic and everything. I taught him how to play One Night Ultimate Werewolf, where you have to have the app and everything, and you have to close your eyes and like you get to switch and stuff. The jocks like loved that game. They would actually start coming in later and asking this other boy, this geek boy, who was very much on that side of the spectrum and they were on this side of the spectrum and they had classes together and they would come and ask him, hey, can you run that game? Because they didn't remember how to like run it themselves, but if he ran it, they would like follow along and do whatever he said.
Right.
And so they really enjoyed it. So I see that still that trepidation and that kind of like, yeah, I'm a jock and you're a geek. I do still see that split in the middle school arena. And I've heard about it in the high school area. I don't really teach high school. So it is still out there some, but I think that the crossover is becoming easier.
Yeah.
So, and I think video games is one of the reasons because of the top 20 selling video games, like 5 of them are sports games. So.
Black and Silver Diamond says, in Japan this year is doing a sports thing. So that's another thing. So
well, yeah, and that anime, that My Hero Academia, they do a lot of like sports type stuff against one another.
Yeah.
So that is in anime, is like seeing that.
But going back to the jock thing and then being geeks, another big thing is like fantasy football. And if you look at that, there's nothing geekier than fantasy football.
Right.
You go through just like you are with a role-playing game and looking at stats.
You're looking at stats. You have to understand stats. You have to pick players to be on your team. Yeah.
To see their strengths and their weaknesses and stuff like that. It's like, the same thing.
You know, and here we are, we talk about geeks who are like so into the geek culture or so into their fandom that they know, like for Star Wars, they know every planet and what the terrain is like and who lives there and what the different races are and stuff. I'm not that involved. Like I love Star Wars, but I'm not that involved. But there are geeks that are that involved. Well, then if you think about these jocks that are really into sports, same thing. They know their team. They know players that have been on their team like back in the 70s and the 80s, and they know where the core of the team came from.
They know stats from games that happened before they were born.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, and a lot of them played the sport, but never made it to that level. And so it's something that they wanted, and so they keep up with it, and it's their fandom, basically. So, right. And then I was going to show something off actually that I have. So we know that there's lots of collectibles in fandom, right? That's one of the things about being a geek is you have collectibles, and one of the collectibles, 2 of them are like Pops and Dorbs, right? They're kind of similar. So they make Pops and Dorbs. This is my Joe Montana. So I have Joe Montana. I actually have like 15 of them, but I'm only going to show you those. I have Joe Namath. I have Brett Favre. I have Terry Bradshaw. He's now an announcer. So I also have Joe Montana figures, like action figures.
Mhm.
I do. And then we have trading cards, just like a CCG,
Mhm.
just like a collectible card game that you would get. Like, you don't play it like Magic and Pokemon, but a lot of the people that I know that have Pokemon cards, that have Yu-Gi-Oh cards, they don't play the game. They like the artwork, they like the characters, and they collect binders and binders full of cards.
Yeah, like I remember back in the day, I used to collect the Star Wars, and also Garbage Pail Kids.
So I gotta admit, when I was a kid, I had a bunch of football cards, like Tony Dorsett and people like that back in the 80s, really big,
When the Cowboys were good.
when the Cowboys were good. I didn't even like the Cowboys, but I had those cards. Well, guess what I did? I got a hole puncher and punched holes in them all and put yarn in them and made a necklace out of them, and I put stickers on them because I love stickers and I have lots of sticker books. And so they are totally worthless now.
Torres, does anyone still collect trading cards anymore? They do.
They do. It's a huge, huge thing. Yeah. Our kids got drug into that because they love Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And they like sports. They're not as big as I am, but they like it. And then they started kind of looking. There's this new thing with sports collectible cards where they get their jerseys. Supposedly, it's got a certificate that says it's their jersey, and they cut off like little sections of the jersey, and it's part of the card now. So it's like the front of the card has their stats, and then you flip it over, and there's like a little like plastic bump or whatever, and it has a piece of their jersey, and it's from such and such a game on there.
See, but back in the day when you used to get cards, get a little piece of gum with it.
Yep.
They don't do that anymore.
They don't. They don't do that. But and then the big thing used to be getting hologram cards. Like, you would want to get like the hologram Pikachu or whatever. The hologram. I used to collect the X-Men. I had all the X-Men cards, and I wanted the hologram Iceman. And like the Marvel cards. I wanted Iceman. They do that for the sports cards as well. You can get holograms of like some of the sports figures, and sometimes it's like a remake of their rookie card or whatever, but then it's a hologram card.
Yeah, the whole chase card thing kills trading cards a lot. I know when I was into non-sporting trading cards when it was huge back in the early 90s, that's what killed it. They went from like 5 chase cards in a set to 15 chase cards and parallel cards and foil stamp cards and 4 different. It was like you couldn't give away the sets. Nobody wanted the sets. They would all be chasing the rares and the super rares, and it was like you'd have to buy like 15 boxes to complete the set.
To get the set, yeah.
But that's exactly what happened to like Magic. You couldn't give Magic cards away, and then it reignited again.
Well, and I know a lot of jocks who actually like Magic, and I wonder if it's that trading card crossover.
Yeah.
Because I do know a lot of the boy friends that were jocks, and they play Magic.
Mm-hmm.
And they like that. So maybe there's that crossover where they were like collecting trading cards, and then they were like, oh, well, this is a trading card game. Oh, it's a game. Let's try it.
Chris says, I had Garbage Pail Kids. I did too. They were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think I actually unstickered them. I always left them.
You didn't, but there is a whole closet door upstairs in our house because he passed on the tradition to our children that is covered with garbage pail stickers. You can't see the door anymore. It's just stickers. But it's good. I like it.
So there was a lot of fun collecting it. But going back to the Jock is that with the movies coming out, the comic book movies and all that, it's like slowly letting them into this geek culture because geek culture isn't necessarily geek culture anymore, it's pop culture.
Right. Yeah.
And it's become a little more mainstream, so it's a lot easier to kind of understand and like it and not get attached to for it so much. If you're like looking at a movie, I was like, oh yeah, you went to go see the Marvel movie, that was awesome.
Right, because nowadays I can talk about that in the classroom, and like some of them have seen it and some of them haven't, and they're like jumping on it, like don't spoil it, don't tell me, like I'm going at such and such a date, and it's the whole class, like everybody's gonna go, and your kids not so much. They're like movies, but I'll wait until it comes out. But
now the jocks may not necessarily buy the comic book or buy the toys.
But you know what's interesting? I will tell you this is when I have like reading time or when we have our state testing and they're done with testing and they can read a book after, I bring graphic novels and like the Ripley's Believe It or Not book that have all the like facts about all the weird stuff in it. And the jock kids gravitate towards the graphic novel. They like that representation. They like a lot of the fighting. Because if you think about it, there is that kind of jock action. When you look in like a comic book, a graphic novel, you do have a lot of these, you know, beefed up characters and they're fighting one another, you know. So I can see how it would be an easy crossover if people hoped them crossover. You know what I mean? If there were more examples of jocks who were just out there saying, hey, I read comics. And I think it's starting to become more like that, where they're starting to say, I read comics, or they'll wear, because the NFL just lifted, they had a shoe restriction. So the guys were only allowed to wear shoes that like matched the colors of their team.
Right.
But they've lifted that restriction. So now the guys can get any kind of shoes they want with any kind of design. So I have already seen some of the shoes designs because I read this article because I thought my students would be interested in it. And there are like Marvel designs and Superman designs. Superman's a big one that people I think resonate with people. The Flash, because they're running fast. Like, so the jocks are adding these comic book characters on there. And they're going to start being, I think, even more noticeable with these shoes being out there as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that necessarily makes them a
like one of my many Converse
geek, yeah. But to me, that kind of does make you a geek. Like if you are into some kind of fandom, like it's almost like, I don't know. I wouldn't say that you can be a geek over anything, but maybe you can. Like maybe if it's something that you're so passionate about that you geek out about.
There are history.
Yeah. And Disney
really
geeks and
there are. So yeah, it runs a spectrum. So there's stuff out there for everyone to geek out about. I said it. Geek out.
Geek out, I say.
Hey Adam, how's it going? Hey y'all.
Because I would consider myself a geek. I was like picked on and stuff, you know, and people didn't like what I was interested in, and they thought that was really, my friends and I were real derpy, you know. But I also love sports. I'm not derpy. Here it says I'm derpy. I mean, you can probably tell by what I've been talking about that I like sports, especially football. Football is my thing. Football's my jam. So I felt that separation growing up, but I never personally wanted that separation. Like I liked both, and I guess maybe that's why it's easier for me to see these crossovers.
But if you look at a correlation, like you see football games, and these fans go out there, face paint, body paint for their
they're wearing
favorite
like
team.
wigs and all kinds of stuff.
So they're cosplaying for their favorite team, and that's geeky.
Yeah,
it really is.
It really, really is. Dress up like the mascots, or they make up their own costumes to like support their team, and they make signs and things, and yeah, I mean, hello.
Yeah. Fulger says, I don't think that stigma such as jocks or nerds exist as the way they do in the movies. There are a ton of people I know that were in sports that love comic movies and all that stuff. But but that's become more of the pop culture. And
I guess old school, when you think of geek, I know what you're saying then. Like old school, when we think of geek, we don't think of pop culture type stuff. We don't think of these comic movies. What's that nice, Stuart? We don't think of these comic book movies. The comic book movies and places like Hot Topic and Box Lunch and stuff have made geek culture more popular. However, it used to not be this popular. It's great that it is popular now, but it used to not be. So it used to be the case where finding a jock who was open about their geekiness was rarer. Nowadays, I don't think it's as rare, although I do see it sometimes. So I think it depends.
And then people that exist in the geek culture won't necessarily see it as much because they associate with the majority of geeks.
And maybe that's our age bracket, but not necessarily, because I've seen some of our friends that are in their 30s also. And it was a big problem at Gen Con when they had Gen Con and there was a preseason football game, because it's right there in where the Indianapolis Colts play. And so there was this crossover of all these fans, these Colts fans, coming through this convention center where all these tabletop gaming geeks were. And there were a few people that had something to say about the geek culture. There were a few fans that had something to say and snide remarks, but there were also geeks on the other side. So,
sports ball. The same thing. I mean, there's just a lot of people out there. I just want as many people to enjoy the geek community as the way I do. So the more the merrier.
Yeah, I just think that we need to stop, and not necessarily stereotype anymore.
Yeah.
And maybe Fulger is right. Maybe there's less, and I do see less.
Well, when you kind of, back in the day when Revenge of the Nerds came out, it was nerds against jocks, or geeks against jocks. And that kind of shined a light about the culture that was there.
But again, it over exaggerates the.
Did it? I don't think so.
Okay, well, maybe not.
No,
not really.
It didn't. I don't think it exaggerated it at all.
Yeah, no, not
because
really.
that's kind of like what happened. People would get stuffed in lockers.
Oh yeah, no, I've witnessed that. Yeah. Or like.
Or like Napoleon Dynamite. That kind of stuff. That.
Or like in Glee, even in Glee, where they throw the Slurpees on them, because they're the dorks that sing, and Glee is a pretty recent show, and it showed that there was the jock that wanted to sing, remember? And it wasn't okay, and some of the jocks were putting some of the Glee kids in the dumpster and stuff, and he came to their defense, and then they didn't want him on the team anymore.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, it's still out there. Maybe not as much as it used to be.
It used to be a little more ruthless.
Yeah.
Than it is.
Well, and I think nowadays we have so many like laws and things in place, and they used to be like they have consequences. Back in the day there weren't really any consequences. I mean, somebody messed you up and you just didn't say anything. You just kind of took it or whatever. And you internalize it.
But I think you said something a while back when we talked about it. We were able to take a break from it. We could go home. We didn't have social media back then.
Right.
And you wouldn't get. And that's another thing is social media that caused some of the things to where you get attacked, but you're attacked 24/7.
Well, yeah, and that can be a curse too, because Jock was interested in comics or something like that. They could go to a comic store. They could go to a place like Alien Worlds or, Heroes in Fantasy or Dragon Slayer or something like that. And nobody's like taking a picture of them and putting some caption about, oh, look, I saw, Captain Geekerton or whatever at this store, and look, he's got a comic, and then they're putting it all over social media.
Mm-hmm.
So it was easier, and you would go to your friend's house or whatever. Nobody was like watching you and taking pictures or taking secret video of you, out there playing Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, or watching anime.
Yeah.
So I can see where that could be a problem, and I think that especially these professional jocks, these professional athletes,
Mm-hmm.
I think they do have almost like an actor and actress or somebody like that. They have this persona, this built up, right, of who they are.
Right.
And so, like I said, yeah, I've seen Vin Diesel say in interviews, casually say in interviews, yeah, I play Dungeons and Dragons, I like it or whatever. But how often do we see him like on his personal social media being like, hey, it's the weekend, I'm here with my peeps, and he's showing like, character sheets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really see that because what is that going to potentially do to his movie sales? If people hear it in passing, or it's in a, something that they have to read because it's an interview that he's done or something.
Yeah.
Those of us, I think, that are geeks, we pick up on it, right? But regular people may not, and so he still gets to keep this persona that he has.
Right.
Like, I wonder how people would feel, about The Rock if he was like hanging out, laying around reading comics and like playing video games. And
The Rock's supposed to be a big D&D player as well.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that too. But again,
and then what would it be like to play with them? And they're
I would die. I would die.
Because they're actors, so they could like really work it.
Like you would think,
especially The Rock.
Yeah, you would think it would be like one of the best games you ever played because
The Rock, he can do voices.
Yeah.
He can do the gamut, so that would be awesome. But I think can they be geeks? Can jocks be geeks? Yes, most definitely they can be geeks.
Oh, I think definitely. I think that people need to get past this, that the jock is the one that gives you the swirly and the wedgie. They can definitely be geeks. And I think that we need to maybe rethink what our definition is of a geek.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you can be a fan of something, you can geek out about many different things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, geek out about music.
I was gonna say even music. Yeah, you could geek out about music. So I don't know. I'm just saying. I really think
you can geek out about football. You can geek out about hockey.
No, I mean it's super violent. Like I think people really enjoy the violence. They're like, let's go watch a hockey game and then some John Wick. No.
Mm-hmm. It's just like thinking about it, the gladiators back in the Colosseum, because that's one of the videos that you're gonna see in the next couple of weeks.
So we're gonna put up our own video. We have to put it together.
We have to put that one up together. But I think Earth is coming. Tomorrow.
Good.
But but they were in there, and then they were. I'm sure people really geeked out about certain gladiators.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, they were even telling us when we were over there that there were certain gladiators, and if they were like in a match or whatever, and it came down to a decision, if they were like a crowd favorite, then the Caesar would be like, no, they survived. They get to go back to the dorms or whatever and heal up because they were like it was almost like wrestling. If you think of like WWE and stuff too.
Yeah.
There's lots of people like some of the people in the YouTube group. One of the guys that does like he's really into horror. He's a horror geek.
Hangman Charlie.
Yeah, but he's a super like wrestling geek too. Like he loves like all that wrestling stuff. Mm-hmm. So
I mean, back in the day, I used to watch wrestling a lot, and Von Erichs and
Roddy Piper, baby. Yeah.
So it was a thing that we watched, and I used to like geek out of it. But they put a show into it, and they there's costumes.
There's
and
costumes.
So it's
again.
it's real geeky.
Yeah,
But
because they kind of look like superheroes sometimes.
They
had
do.
that look and that feel, and so yeah, if you're down for comics, you're like, oh yeah, okay, that looks like comics.
Jose Torres, not everyone dresses in suspenders and big glasses anymore. No, they don't, but they still get picked on just for what they like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of my kids at school still get kind of especially my kids that like anime and stuff, and they're a little weird and awkward, and some of the things that they wear are not like, Hollister and whatever. Abercrombie. They do still somewhat get shunned. It's not as much, and I think it's because teachers are more aware now too. And so if a kid's like, saying something or making a face, we're like, hey, no, we're not doing that. Like, everybody gets to just be who they are.
Yeah.
And you just need to like it or lump. Accept people for what they like, So I think jocks are geeks. I think there are a lot of jocks that are geeks, and there's probably more of them than we even know about.
Yeah. People they even want to let on that they are.
Yeah. But I think we'll see it more and more and more. I'll be definitely interested to see, as some of these younger people who have grown up in this generation of all this Marvel and stuff being very mainstream, to see where they go.
Shaq is big Superman fan. He has the S all over everything. Well, part of it is because it's Shaq, but it's the Superman insignia.
Right.
So he's a jock.
Oh, he's a big time jock.
He's a big time jock, but he's into that. So, and there's a ton of other major sports ball players, or football or basketball or anything like that, baseball, that are super huge geeks.
Yeah.
And it's getting a little easier. I think in the future it's going to get even easier.
I think just as it's become more and more mainstream, I'd like to see, more tabletop players, more reading of comics.
Here's the one thing that Black and Silver Diamond says. I see more geeks picking on other geeks, to tell you the truth. That's
another thing, because your fandom's not as good as my fandom.
Or, I know a lot of women get attacked for people that they dress up. Oh, do you know such and such that happened in this comic book? And why does it have to be like that?
Well, women get attacked just in general because we're faking or posers, especially women that play video games. Or remember not too long ago when I was wearing my Ninja Turtle shirt, and then that waiter was like, oh, that's cute. You like your little Ninja Turtle shirt? And I bet you don't even know who they are. And I rattled them all upside down. And I was like...
Jose Torres says, Vince picked on me when I was young, LOL.
And then you went, yeah, and the girl one's Venus Milo.
Yep. I know. So, no.
So yeah, I say it's.
I think yes, jocks can be geeks. I think ultimately yes.
Yeah. So, while jocks can be geeks, we have a geek in this weekend, and Alicia, take it away and let us know what's happening.
Hi guys, Alicia here with your Geekend Report. Let me tell you about what's going on around San Antonio this weekend. First off, we have the Bibliotech Comic-Con hosted by the Bear Bibliotech. That is going on at the Burbank High School cafeteria. And there's going to be artists and trivia and cosplay and a costume contest. And you can bring the whole family to this free event. Also going on at North Star Mall is the Box Lunch Gifts grand opening Saturday and Sunday. I'm so excited. They're going to have DJs and giveaways and trivia, so be sure to check that out if you're a fan. At the Alamo Draft House there's the Goonies Chunk Junk Food Fest, so you can go and watch the Goonies and you can eat pizza and potato chips and milk and, of course, Baby Ruth candy bars and some Rocky Road ice cream. Also, the Marvel Trivia Bar Crawl is happening, hosted by Crawl With Us. That is going to be the biggest Marvel trivia event. There's 4 bars on the crawl. You can have a team of 1 to 8 friends. There's going to be prizes for first, second, and third place. Professional photographer will be there, so you can all go in costume and get your picture taken. And there's even a contest, and you can win free. Free tickets to future events. So check that out if you are a Marvel super fan. Oh, and if you are a science geek like me, you can go to the Bat Walk hosted by the San Antonio Parks and Rec Department. They are meeting at Elmendorf Lake Park, and you'll be able to walk the lake with some naturalists, and there's going to be a craft activity and even a live bat presentation and some science experiments that you can do with your family and see some other critters along the way. So that sounds like a great way to spend the weekend. Anyways, that's all I have for you for now. If you want more details on any of the events that I mentioned, check out my Facebook page, Geek Fun SA, and you can scroll through the feed or click on the events tab and get more information or see what other events look good to you. That's all I have for you for now. I hope you guys have a fabulous geekend. Bye.
And thanks for that, Alicia. I really appreciate it. That was awesome. But again, I say, yeah, Jocks. Jocks Be Geeks. Together. Love.
I'm not a derp, Stuart.
So.
Stuart's making on me. Stuart's a jock and I'm a geek.
So guys, thanks for checking this out. If you haven't subscribed to us, please click on the subscribe button. If you hit
want to rewind and do that again?
Thanks for checking this out. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen. Please subscribe. That's Stuart over there.
Geek out, SA.